So we're back with our 94 Chevy that we did the engine swap in. Now we're going to do the body work. So I thought maybe some of you guys are thinking about doing your own restoration or rockers cab corners. It might be a little scary to some people, but I thought I'd at least show you just in case you want to do it yourself. As you can see, I've already kind of done all the preliminary stuff. I've already drilled out my weld. Spot welds here, spot welds here. Spot welds on the back. They make a lot of good spot weld cutters. This is just one. They make some that are just like a drill bit with a point in them. And then they work just the same as these. There's several different kinds. You always want to leave at least a ½ inch so you have plenty of meat to weld your panel to. This particular deal, we're not going to be crimping or anything. They do make a tool to crimp. This works good for like door patch panel stuff like that. It seems like I use it a little more often. Not so much here because, well, a lot of places obviously it's not going to fit real well. It's really going to have crimps here and there. Obviously it's only going to fit from here to about here. On this, it's not going to mess anything up. I do not crimp these. Also on this, you'll see there's a hole puncher. You don't have to have this. You can just drill your holes where they need to be spot welded back on, but this tool does work really well. You can run it right along here. There's going to be spot welds right along there. Obviously, just go out through there and just bam, bam, bam. It is easy. It is nice. Not necessary. So, as you can see, I've already got all my cuts. Everything on this is ready. So, the truck's primed, prepped. Already done my weld through primer. We can see here is it looks really nice, really clean what I've done. So I put my weld through primer on all my welded areas, and then I taped it off and used some undercoating to kind of seal this up. This is a real good candidate for restoration because the cab's in really good shape. It's just the exterior was rusted, and the rockers weren't too bad, but the inner rockers are extremely solid. The floor pans are extremely solid, so it's a really good candidate for this. You're going to see there's a lot of these that's, you know, these could be gone, and well, then you're going to start getting into your floorboard. You're going to start having to really put a lot of pieces on, which is fine. It's a lot more work, and you have to be really precise. You want this stuff to fit. I mean, you want it to look factory when you're done. So now that we've got the truck prepped, what I like to do, everybody does stuff different. Nobody does everything the same. It's how it is. So somebody may not like the way I do stuff. I may not like the way somebody does. It's a preference. Everybody's taught differently. This is how. Some of this I was taught. Some of this is just how I like to do it. So on these panels, once I get them prepped, I'll have to put my holes obviously in the bottom for my spot welds. There'll be spot welds here, and then here will be welded solid. What I like to do is I take these tags off because they're not going to stay on there forever, so then you have no protection underneath there. Because I like to take and scuff all this up on the inside, just a little bit of something for this to stick to. I like, since this is kind of like a galvanized, I like to spray this on the back side of my replacement piece, give it a little something extra, and once it's good, dried up, I will spray it down with undercoat and give it a little more. Say some of this is going to burn out. So something's better than nothing is the way I look at it. There's 2 access holes here, and we're going to probably go in there once we're done and try to get at least a little more protection in here. We do have places that are somewhat local that will actually go in and line this. If I thought I was going to do that, I would probably just clean this tag off, put it on, finish everything up, and whenever I had the truck done, send it over there. What they actually do, will go through these holes, and they can coat this hole inside. It's kind of like a wax-based coating, something like that. And it's a rust preventative. That's one option. It's probably not cheap, but for keeping the life of your vehicle, it depends on what you want. So, with that being said, I'm just going to set this on here to have to come back up so we can prep the back side. Doing stuff like this, these are really handy to have. These vice grip clamps right here. Now, of course, you're probably thinking, well, I could just use anything to hold that on there. Well, yeah, you can. Here's the thing. I want to make sure this is going to fit the truck. So I'm going to end up putting the doors back on while I'm doing this process. Well, if I want to put the door back on, I can shut the door with these clamps because of the way they're made. That's what they're made for. So when I put the door back on to make sure this all fits up after I've mocked it all up, then I can put the door on. I can still shut the door, check all my lines, and go on. Now, on your cab corners, I don't care where you get them from, you're probably not going to find one that fits. They're going to fit good, they're not going to fit right. So, usually you always have to cut this out. This particular cab corner, I had to cut this edge off because it was too wide. Got it to where it's pretty close. It's close enough for me to make this thing actually work. Also, when you're weld a very small area at a time, unless you just like to put in body fill. Because the more you try to weld at once, the more this panel is going to warp and deform, and all you're just create more work. Take your time. The only thing I would say is if you're leery of doing this on your own, you don't have a good welder, or you're not good at welding. So that's going to create a lot of work doing a job like this if you have not a very good welder or not very good skills at welding. So I've been welding probably since I could walk, so I'm not too worried about that. So once I get this all in, I'll have to do my spot welds on this, my spot welds here, and I'll probably use my tool to put in my spot welds. Just like I say, it's just bam, 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 and it's done. So once that's done, once I prep the back side of this, just like I'm going to do the rocker panel, try to keep some, anything I can try to do to keep this thing from rusting, for several years, I'm going to try. I mean, we want the stuff to last. So once I've got this in, welded on, this in and welded on, I'm planning on coming back and I'll show you guys what to do as far as putting some body filler on there, and I'll probably try to send a video in between with, put the door on, kind of showing you how I do the fitment and kind of how I weld them in. everybody's different. Everybody can do how they want. That's fine. This is the way I do it. So if anybody's questioning whether they want to attempt something like this, well, there's your answer. If you think you want to give it a try. I will say, if you're cutting one of these cab corners out, I see a lot of guys, they don't go all the way up. My cab corners were rusted clear up to here, so I'm going to use a full piece. A lot of people will cut them off, you know, and they'll use from like here down stuff. That's fine. It's, you know, if you've got something that's not very rusty, it's just got a spot in it, and you're redoing it, and your metal's all good besides clear down there. That's nothing wrong with that, but I will say, watch this stuff, because it likes to catch on fire. If you don't scrape all this out, at least have your interior panels out. I would probably remove your speaker wiring, you know, out of the way in case this were to flame up on you. You don't burn the wiring up, you don't burn, because if you got your interior on, you try to do this and that catches on fire, you're in bad shape, because you ain't getting that interior out quick enough to save everything. So just a little tip, that stuff does burn. But hopefully I'll get a few more things ready. I'll prep the back sides of these, and we'll probably go ahead and set the door on before we do any welding. And I'll probably come back and I'll give you a little bit of a video once I maybe have this kind of tacked in place.